University proudly presents the Dream Team, featuring Brad Harris, Tracy Lopez, and David Ball. Tonight's episode, learner engagement strategies in the real world classroom. And now, your host, Mr. D. Baller. Hey guys, what's up? It's D-Ball for the Dream Team here, and tonight we're going to be talking about some strategies that we've actually used and applied in our own classrooms to improve learner engagement. So let's get right into it. When students are made to be an active part of the learning process, their brains are enriched. It is important to remember that the teacher must create new and novel ideas to help stimulate and motivate the student's brain while learning. Eric Jensen stated in his classic book that the stimuli for novel learning must be meaningful and coherent. The fact that the idea is new to the students helps to keep the lesson or content fresh and exciting. With that being said, playing games in the classroom can go a long way in creating a sense of novelty in the lesson plan. It can naturally make the learning process more engaging and motivating, and helps to extend the content of your lesson. And when the kids are having fun, they often don't even realize that they're also learning in the process. So let's take a look at a really good example of games in the classroom with a math game that I've used in many of my classes with a lot of great success. I guess you probably know by now that a lot of students enjoy emulating the basketball activity in the classroom. And instead of actually walking up to the trash can and throwing something away, they'll ball up their paper into a little ball and throw it at the trash can at a distance in the hopes of trying to make the shot. And I realized that this activity could be used to add a little spontaneity to my math lessons by allowing a student to do this if they answered a question correctly. And over the year or two, as I used this activity, it began to evolve into a full-blown game with rules, structure, and teams. And eventually, a whole culture began to evolve in my classes centered around this game. So eventually I ended up purchasing a Nerf basketball and basketball net, which I've set up in the classroom. And then my students started separating themselves into teams. And what would happen was, when the class began, I would have a short review about the math that we were talking about that day. And then I would put a problem up on the board. And each team would send one of its members up to the board and get ready to try to complete this math problem. And the object was to have a race. So the team member which completed the math problem correctly in the shortest period of time would not only score a point for their team, but would also get the chance to take a shot at the basketball net with the Nerf basketball. And let me tell you something, the students really loved this activity. And making a shot in the basket came along with a whole lot of bragging rights. And the teams used to challenge each other and see which one could make the most shots and the most points. And what I loved about the game most of all was the fact that my students were learning math. And they really didn't seem to mind doing the math. They didn't care that it was a math problem. They didn't even seem to notice that they were learning. But learning was taking place. And the act of competing with each other and sort of showing off in front of the class really made the math process enjoyable for them. And I know that this game was a great success for both me and my students, because I remember there were days when the class would be over, the bell had rung, and my students would not leave. They would literally beg me to put up one more math problem so that they could continue the game. And you know what? Moments like that really make being an educator both rewarding and enjoyable. Classroom fun is an attitude, a mood, a feeling, and a connection. The act of making personal connections with your students through smiles, laughter, and games will bring a sense of joy to your classroom and can often be contagious. Making a game out of the learning process can provide for the learner a method of acquiring knowledge without feeling stress or losing interest. Risk-free activities, such as playing games, encourage the student to learn from their mistakes, push their boundaries, and get out of their comfort zone. Being a kid in today's world can have its challenges, and sometimes even be pretty tough. But if you make having fun and playing games a part of your learning process, you'll find that your learners will show up ready to laugh and ready to learn.